Right, so I just measured out my borders using this watercolor pencil, so that way if I get anything wrong I can just wash it right off, or just with a damp cloth. I planned out my design in advance. Move that over a little bit so that I kind of have a general sketch and a general idea of what I'm going to do here. So I made sure all of the dimensions work and all that jazz, so that, you know, you don't want to fix it while it's on the board, you want to fix it while it's on a piece of trace paper. All right, now I need to make my corners. All right, so I think this is the... I have this X-Acto blade. I'm going to put a new blade on it, a nice sharp blade, and I'm going to score the edge before I tape it. And the reason I do that is so that if any paint seeps under the tape, which happens all the time, I don't care how much you press down on the tape, which I will be doing like this, doesn't matter, you will get a little bit that seeps under and it will make you crazy. I'm also going to put this little piece of gummy eraser on either side so that my ruler doesn't slip. Can you tell I've learned some things the hard way? You want to sand it down, take any sheen off of here so that your first coat sticks to it. Looking for my tack cloth. I want to get off any excess dust before I put my base down. Right, so normally I would use gesso as my base coat. However, ooh, that needs to be mixed. Because this board was more than likely stained, I don't know what it was treated with. It could have been wax, it could have been a bit of varnish. So I need that first surface to adhere really well. So I'm just gonna go with bin to block any stains and adhere. And then after that, I'll put down a coat of gesso. Okay, so I let my bin dry overnight. I've got gesso over 2 coats of the bin. Did my scratch test to make sure it adhered, and it did. So now I'm just going to put a base coat of this. Prepared a number of sample boards. I've got about 4 of these boards and I'm gonna try my layering. I want a specific colorway, and that does take a little bit of tweaking. So I'm gonna do these sample boards, but what's really cool is if they come out nice, I can actually use them as paintings. Even though the sample process does take quite a while, I might come out with 3 or 4 new paintings, which is awesome. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so I've got the surface ready and prepared for the adhesive sizing for the metal leaf, which will come next. This is so boring, I'm not going to have you watch this whole thing, but basically, just going to brush it on.
just put a very light wash of kind of a pale gray-green over the branches. This gives me, I don't know, first of all, just makes it way more painful than it needs to be, and I'm apparently kind of into that. And but it does give me some interesting edges on my branches, so that's really the real reason I do it. And in this case, I just put the glaze on, so I'm just using a little bit of water to get it off, so it doesn't have to be quite as aggressive. I'm still going, and it's like 3 days later. So I thought I'd put the last bit as it's kind of starting to all come together, and then we'll move on from here. When I look at the big picture, this may have to go, and there'll probably be some other stuff in here because you don't want it to be even and all over. You want it to have an interesting composition. So I'm going to keep plugging away on filling in the white. I'm already about 3 hours in, just kind of working this much out, and so I'll probably be the rest of the day. Okay, so this guy here, just a little fat. Shrink him up. I'm going to start trying to define these little bits of pine needles. So in order to do that and keep them kind of weird and wiggly so they don't look too overly worked or just not as spontaneous I'd like, I take a little bit of this alcohol right here, and I'm going to wet this whole area down. And I'm going to take the knife, the X-Acto knife, and I'm going to just kind of like let my hands just not even barely look at what I'm doing, because the kiss of death when you're trying to be organic is to let your eyes try to make sense and patterns out of things. So you really want to kind of just like be really loosey-goosey with your X-Acto blade. And you can always paint over what you don't like, so you don't have to like worry if you go too far. My needle shapes. So that's the next step.
So here I am just putting the little details in the ends of the little pine needles. So just weaving in and out with some white to make them have some really interesting little bottoms. I'll put in a clip of the finished part here so you can see what that comes out to be. So this gives you the idea, and you can also see all the different layers of glazes and paints that I've put on, so you can see, you know, all this craziness and the time I take to do this makes a difference in the end when you see it up close.
Okay, here's the most scary part of this entire project. It's peeling the tape. Oh my god. And why is it scary? Because if I peel it and it lifts some of the paint with it, it's gonna really mess up my whole project. So I have taken a knife and scored all along the taped edge. So far so good.
I retaped the edges so I could put this brown stripe on, so I'm going to peel the tape off once I do a final varnish.